Alright, hello. 25 years ago, the best car racing game in the world was released. Naughty Dog's final farewell to their beloved Crash Bandicoot franchise was this kart racing masterpiece. To celebrate this occasion, rather than baking a cake, because I am not a master baker, I decided in fact to rank all the original 18 racetracks from the original game. As much as I love the remaster, that game will not be relevant to this list. As always, these are obviously my opinions. They're bound to be nonsensical in some instances. So, that's the introduction stuff out of the way. Let the racing begin. This track is like the forgotten child of the original game. It's the only one you have to unlock to play in arcade mode. It's not available in any of the cups, even Slide Coliseum managed to make it into the Crash Cup. It does have a fun concept. Let's have a racetrack filled with boost pads. Boost pads make you go faster, so that should be fun, right? Well, some genius decided to put 3 hairpin turns with giant barriers in the way, stopping all your momentum. They built a half-decent track and decided to ruin it. It's by far my least played track by quite some distance. I'd never willingly choose to play it. It deserves to be in last place. Well, the title of this track is a complete lie to start off with. The arena isn't tiny, it's a mud marathon. A filthy mess of a track. Endless mud madness. I used to think this track was the longest track in the game by a huge margin, but Oxide Station, Hot Air Skyway and Polar Pass are almost just as long. Tiny Arena just feels so much longer because it's all the same thing over and over. Coco Park is basically the tutorial level of racetracks. It's practically an oval circuit. Even little Timmy can make his way around with no problems, with its super wide corners and no hazards. But for people wanting to enjoy a race there just isn't much going on. It is a speed main's wet dream though, with none of those pesky corners to get in the way. Characters like Dingodile and Tiny will rule Coco Park. Although clearly people agree with me on this track, as the attendances are lower than the average MK Don's home attendance.
You've got no friends!
Sliding into 15th place, we have Slide Coliseum. A lot of people tend to rank this one right at the bottom, but for me, it's a fun little go-kart track. Jumping over the tyre barriers is always super satisfying, as well as drifting around all the corners. I feel like this one is overhated. The theming I'll give you is very plain. It is just a generic stadium. But just imagine how fun it would be if they built this track in real life. Go-karting around here with your friends would be so fun. Maybe don't chuck nitroglycerin at each other though.
There you go.
Talking of overhated tracks, Dragon Mines is also often cited as the worst track. And while it is also still quite low on my list, it has quite a few things going for it. The idea of racing around a mine is really cool, dodging mine carts and jumping down mine shafts. However, they surely miss an opportunity of this track. Why is it not a boss battle against Koala Kong? Every other boss battle in the game is from the first game. Koala Kong had a boss battle in that game, literally in a mine. Also, the shortcut in this track is by far the worst in the game, and the spiral corner the worst corner in the game as well. Otherwise, this track would be much higher. Another boss track. Again, I don't exactly associate Ripperoo with underwater tubes, but I'm gonna let that one slide. A figure of 8 track is quite simplistic like Coco Park, but this one has a little bit more going for it. Some fun jumps and corners that feel super satisfying to cut just right, with an amazing skeleton of what I always presumed was a whale as a nice crescendo as you cross the finish line. The whole look and atmosphere is what really bumps this one up the list. Dingo Canyon is often my most forgotten about track from the game. It really doesn't have a lot that stands out. On the desolation scale, it's off the charts, with the only life being a couple of armadillos that roll across the track. This is meant to be Dingodile's home race, but I always felt like Sewer Speedway would suit him much better. Whenever I do race on this track though, I realise it is fun. I like the idea of dropping down into the canyon with the flooded road, and also the fork in the road that makes you choose a right or left path is always good fun. I tend to always go on the right hand side because I find that much easier. There is a nice jump to lay some nitro at the finish. Nothing bad about this track, but it is just so damn forgettable. Tiger Temple oozes atmosphere. With the pouring rain, it's very much like the ruined levels from Crash Bandicoot 2. In fact, out of all the first 3 games, I feel like more tracks take inspiration from the second game, more than the other 2. This track is also the only one to have a shortcut which is opened with a weapon, a very unique mechanic. You have hazards in the form of fire-breathing tiki heads, again, just like the ones from Ruination. Although these corridors are one of the negatives about the track, as you lose so much flow and momentum. The first of 2 snow-themed racetracks in the game. Again, feels very Crash 2 to me, as that game was the home of snow levels. This track is a shortcut fan's dream, with 3 official shortcuts, 2 of them being among the hardest to pull off in the entire game, especially that fence jump. When you link up a lap which combines all 3 perfectly though, you end up feeling like a racing god. One of the few tracks which isn't a home race for anybody, I really wanted to rank this one higher, but it's a testament to how good the courses are in the game that it only just makes it into the top 10. This space-themed track is where the battle for planet Earth is decided. The twisty turns, the zero-gravity jumps, what an epic track this is. With the track convulsing and twisting up and over other parts, it really is a sight to behold. However, this did lead to a massive oversight, with a huge unofficial shortcut, where you can jump the barrier and skip a whole section, making the final boss race a complete joke. The game also often gets confused in what position you are during this race, so you can end up with a warp orb in first position. Am I supposed to use this on myself? Why have you given me a warp orb? This course was also not available in multiplayer, due to the constrictions of the hardware. The game could not handle 4-player split screen due to the size and detail of this course. The famous Cortex Castle, an iconic structure that was synonymous with the first game. Another rainy day race leads to a superb aesthetic, with stained glass windows, giant spiders that were from the original game, and plenty of jumps. I tend to prefer courses with gaps to jump across. It allows for traps to send the other racers to plummet off the course. It is also another course where you get a fork in the road, although does anyone actually ever choose right? I always felt like it was much more natural to go left here. The first track in the game, and what a first track. They could have easily gone with something very basic and simple like Coco Park, but they have Insanity Beach brought to life with pirate ships you can actually go on. What other course allows you to go on a pirate ship, for God's sake? None, exactly. The course just has everything to teach you about the game, including ramps to practice jumping, a shortcut, boost pads and diverging paths. They managed to pack so much into a beginner level, it's amazing.
Tiny Squash Beauty Car!
The Mysterious Caves, a fast-flowing course with lava balls, ancient monuments, and turtle ramps. Honestly, I had no idea these little guys were supposed to be turtles when I was young, but they are an essential aspect adding to the love of this track. From experience, not many people tend to rate this track that highly. I think it gets very easily overlooked. It has some of the most striking set pieces within the game, really pushing the limits of the PS1. Although it is lacking in good shortcuts, emphasis on the word good, because technically this is a shortcut, but you will almost always lose all momentum and resort to a snail's pace. A race course set in the skies? Well, why not? I'll always compare this course to a roller coaster, with all its undulation, the helix, and the tight and twisty nature. Just be careful not to slip off the edge. I haven't mentioned much about the soundtrack for this game, most because it isn't that memorable. However, Hot Air Skyway is among my favourite soundtracks from the game. It's one of the few that really fits the track perfectly. It is also another course with a huge unintentional shortcut, which can be easily exploited. And if you count this as a shortcut, then it's a track with the only shortcut in the game which the AI will use. But it's debatable if it's a shortcut or just an alternate path.
There you go.
This is another track that just has everything. It's challenging, it's filled with shortcuts, including my favourite shortcut in the whole game. Plus, the track is filled with carnivorous plants from the second game, which the AI will be constantly gobbled up by, leading to it being one of the easiest to lap opponents on. One drawback with this course is the opening pyramid climb. It's not really suited for speed characters, with back-to-back-to-back tight square corners. It's one of the main reasons speedrunners opted for acceleration characters rather than speed characters. I personally think it's one of the standout sections from the game though, and makes this course one of my favourites. Back at number 10 I mentioned there was 2 snow-themed racetracks. Well, this is the second one, and it is by far the better snow race. Yet again, more references from the second game, with the polar bear frozen in ice. Thankfully, they will not chase you around the track. Also, the seals from Crash 2 can easily send you into a spin. It is the only track that I can think of in the game which has a crossroad. Also, it has this neat wall at the end of the track which I'd always try to grind on. And again, another amazing cheeky little shortcut. What is there not to love about Polar Pass? Just missing out on the top spot, we have Engines Labs. It's again got every element I enjoy from a racetrack. It's got jumps, it's got an iconic set piece, this being the massive turbo tunnel. Not sure if that is its actual name, but I'm gonna go with Turbo Tunnel. The track is also one of the few you can simply boost the whole way around the track, both with acceleration characters or speed characters. The only thing it's missing, and partly why it misses out on the top spot, is it's lacking a shortcut. Also, another misplaced home track to me, this track is based on the toxic waste levels from Crash 1. So really it should be Pinstripe's home race, but maybe that's just me being picky. We still have one more track, and if you've been paying attention, you'll know exactly what track is going to be number 1, as I've not mentioned it so far. Yep, Sewer Speedway is just perfection. In all truth, the top 3 are all so close that any one of them could claim my heart for the number 1 spot. And in Nitro Fueled, I'd say I might prefer Engines Labs. But Sewer Speedway on the PS1, with its huge shortcut, the tunnels that allow you to build up speed as you bounce off one another, and it's the only track I can think of that allows you to do this. Clearly the best track. It's a massive skate park set in the sewers. What can you not love about it? Although nobody claims it is their home track, I do like to think it does suit Pinstripe and Dingodile. It's again another one based on Crash 2 with its sewer levels. When I think about it, there really isn't any tracks that are based on Crash Warp from this game. Maybe Mystery Caves is based on the Dinosaur Chase levels? It's surprising since Crash Warped was the most recent game at this point. But anywho, I've rambled on about my thoughts on a 25-year-old racing game enough today. Thank you for joining me on this little journey. What are your thoughts on my ranking? What do you agree with and what do you disagree with? And what are your favourite tracks? But for now, take care and leave me alone.
Oh!